Hi, I'm Clive Storey and this is Halterburn Farm, and it's approximately 300 hectares and I run 450 Blackie and Cheviot ewes. I got into this project of putting the trees because I always thought the farm was short of shelter, but I never got around to do anything about it. And one day Hugh Chalmers turned up and he says, how about putting some trees on the place? And he said, we will give you grant money and you'll make a little few quid out of it. I says, well, why not? Let's have a go.
So the whole project's 7 compartments. I think there's around about 42,000 trees in total. In terms of the species as well, there's a mixture between, I think it's predominantly alder, but there's a lot of birch in there as well. You'll see juniper, hawthorns, rowans, and I think ash was substituted for oak because of the dieback as well.
The actual planting and fencing and everything, as far as from my point of view, was very seamless. The fencers come in, did the jobs, and then the lads come in and planted up, and I didn't have any interruption in my farming whatsoever, sort of thing. It all went very, very well.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I suppose from our point of view, of where the trees went, my predecessor Hugh Chalmers, he really focused on the riparian zones. So you'll see behind us, it's all these clucks that I think we're targeting. Am I right in saying there were certain things that you fed in with that as well? So one of them was obviously your sheep gathering. You need some alleyways for the sheep to come round and for actually watering.
Yeah, no, where they put the plots, it actually almost made gathering the sheep simpler, because then they couldn't run through gullies and you had to go around. They sort of pushed them in the direction of where you wanted them to go. And also with planting up the wet bits, it helped the animal husbandry because there was less damp bits for them to get the fluke from. So that was always a bonus from my point of view as well.
What about the biodiversity in the farm? Obviously we can hear the bird song now. Have you noticed a big change in it?
Yeah, no, because it's quite strange, because you hear lots of birds, and we've actually, just this last fortnight we've heard a cuckoo. X number of years ago we used to have barn owls here. Then we got some bad winters and they died out, disappeared, wherever. And was it last year, the year before, I was up on the hill and there's a barn owl going around. So it means there's more food for them coming back into it as well, especially amongst the trees instead of being bare hill. The bird life and that goes, I would say it's definitely improved.
The idea of having these riparian corridors as well, or one of the ideas, is the extra shading will help the insects.
Yeah.
And the more insects there are, obviously they're at the bottom of the food webs that'll feed into the river, and the fish will have more food as well. So,
apart from the cost of looking after the trees, which was my cost, I've got no real problems with the way the project's gone. Obviously, the lads come in, got rid of the bracken and all that sort of thing, till the trees got established. But apart from that, from my point of view, as I say, I always thought the farm was short of trees and shelter, and I'm more than happy with the way things have gone.
So I think there are some opportunities for sort of increasing planting. Obviously, it's not just about where they're putting more trees in, really, because you've got a business here, and we want to make sure it's not impacting Clive's business at all. So although we could maybe plant up all the riparian corridors, then we would have to think about alternative waterings possibly, how to access the stock. This is a sort of a path for the stock to actually come off the hills, and if there was a big fence there, then you would be actually removing that access completely. Yeah. So there's different things you gotta fit in, but there's a few more opportunities. Again, it depends on grazing as well. Yeah. But from our point of view, the more riparian corridors we can get on the rivers, the better, basically. And even up on the hills, where there aren't necessarily riparian like corridors or rivers or streams, it's still possibly a bad thing to have more trees.
It has crossed my mind, and it might be something for the future. Yeah.